over to Mark to introduce us for the second time. Oh, good. Not Mark, Carl. I said Mark. That's a bit out of habit. Over to you, Carl.
Well, I thought you were starting, but anyway, I can, because you're first on the list.
Okay. Am I doing the first?
Professional as we go. Stop us if we're too professional. Carry on, Matt.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. So so this is, as we said, let's play with Dataverse for Teams. Christmas time, so we took a bit of a naughty but nice spin on it. This is me. I'm Matt Beard. I'm on Twitter more than anywhere else, probably too much. So feel free to come and find me on there. It's the benefit of these talks as your follower account goes up. I've also got a blog, so feel free to go and jump on the blog. There's some product update stuff, Dataverse team stuff in there. There's some Power Automate stuff in there. And also, about to talk is a friend of mine who, I'm going to say it because he won't say it, was newly appointed as an MVP yesterday. So congratulations on that, Carl. And now I'll hand over to you because I wasn't letting you get away with not saying that.
Thank you, Matt. Yeah, I'm Carl Cookson. I'm on LinkedIn as well as my blog. I'm on Twitter as Link365. And yes, I did. I am very grateful for being an MVP as of yesterday. And like Matt was saying, we took a different spin off. We started off with this Dataverse for Teams, and when we started thinking about how we were going to get our message across, and how there's so much in Dataverse for Teams that we like, but there's also, if you're coming at that the problem from a data management, from an admin's point of view, there's a lot of things that would scare a normal office admin or someone that has had experience within the Power Platform world and Dynamics 365 world. So what we decided to do, because it's Christmas, we think about this naughty and nice list. And the naughty list is where I come in because I'm the grumpy one of the two, and Matt's got his Christmas jumper on and has made an effort. So he gets to do the nice bit. The naughty bit is someone that's had experience within Dynamics, knows about Dataverse, CDS, understands about security and governance and all of those things that our generic citizen developer probably doesn't have a very good understanding of, certainly doesn't care that much about. And for him, the administrator wants to be able to lock this down to prevent data leakage and all that sort of thing that comes with a mature platform, whether it's ALM and governance, or any of the other things that are under his control, and he wants to try and restrict access as much as you can, and give the end users of the platform and his everyday office applications a good experience. Now, the nice side is that citizen developer term that you either loathe or you hate, that someone that is trying to produce an app that makes their life easier, wants to use the new techniques and new capabilities of the Power Platform seamlessly within their day-to-day role, whether that's a Power Virtual Agent or a Canvas app or anything in between, and knows that that's administrators got their back, knows that whatever they do, it's all down to the citizen, it's the admin team to secure it all. So I'm going to run through the naughty list, what I think, and Matt and I have discussed and thought about what is the bits that are a limitation or a restriction within Dataverse for Teams, and then Matt is going to put his nice his hat on as Santa and deliver us some presents and deliver that citizen developer some really nice wins and really nice things to do. Mine's going to be all slideware, and Matt's going to be do the nice job of doing the demos for you. So where to start? Numerous projects that I've worked on, security has been something that has always been something that's been brought up at every stage, and it is certainly when you get to the enterprise level, is something that they really do concern about. And within Dataverse for Teams, you are very much restricted about that. You've only got one business unit, and what that means is you can't really segregate your data very well. You can't put in a business unit for Europe and then another one for the US and have business units under that to separate the different countries, because you've only got the one business unit. So all that great stuff when you're doing normally doing stuff in Dynamics 365 about hierarchical security and ensuring that you've got the hierarchies within business units and you can categorize your data about who's got access by those different states of the pie. It's all gone. You've got one team. There are some restrictions on data, but not very much. The other one that comes up an awful lot is, and particularly when you're doing larger scale apps and larger number of apps, and you care about who's changed things. There's no auditing on these Dataverse routines. You can't see who's changed it. Now you can imply that you can do some workarounds. You can create some Power Automates or some other bits and pieces to create that data structures for you to audit your data. But the out-of-the-box auditing that comes with a normal Dataverse environment is not present, and therefore you haven't got that ability out of the box. Field level security in D365 and in the Power Platform, you can restrict access to a single field, whether someone can see it or edit it, and do that by roles, and that's all not present. And I touched on this earlier on, the hierarchical security. So within Dynamics 365, you've got the idea of a manager being able to see the records of anyone that's below them, and that goes up the tree within a hierarchical security model, which really does open up the ways of working with security. And that's just not present. We haven't got the ideas of we could put that relationship in. You can build up those relationships, but again, the out-of-the-box way is gone. And finally, in security, there's no sharing of records. This was a really great piece of functionality within Dynamics 365 or Power Platform, where you could allow users to share an opportunity with people they trust, so they could do their own security on that and control who's got access to an opportunity or any other record by doing that security manually. So that's just not present. And I'm not saying all these things won't come, but if you're looking at you need to know your limitations, particularly with security and that sort of access. So API access, well, there isn't any. Matt probably differs on that there is some, and he's been spending a lot of his time trying to get access to these APIs, but there is no supported API access, and what that means is that you've not got any direct links to your data that you have with a Dynamics or a Power Platform environment, which means no complex reporting. There's no SSRS. So you can't build up those reports. Power BI was on this list about a month ago, and that's now come out. You can do Power BI against a Dataverse environment. But if you're worried about these large applications and you've got a lot of data, we'll go through later, is probably not the right place to start thinking about Dataverse for Teams. And you've got no other way of integrating it other than Power Automate. So you can create a flow to bring data in and out, but you are limited on that. You couldn't build a bespoke application that's calling the API to create records for you, or do that interaction that a more fully functional integration. You wouldn't either use a logic app or something within Azure or any other way of getting that data in and building up that proper robust integration. One of the things that's close to my heart is that there's no XRM toolbox. The use of XRM toolbox to make your life a lot easier as a Dynamics 365 developer or a Power Platform developer just isn't available to you. So you can't do things like cloning records or updating record types and all the things that have been built up over the last 8 years of the XRM toolbox. You just haven't got the access to that API endpoint, and therefore we can't use it. And all those utilities that brings have gone. So you're going to have to go back and reimagine a lot of those offerings. You're going to have to reimagine your lifecycle management process to ensure that you're not using XRM toolbox into any of those. To go with the idea that there's not that much data, there's no data export service. So there's no link to an Azure data lake or an Azure DB for your data, so you can start using Power BI against that and combine it with other data sets to generate your Power BI reports or any other reports. So those are the things that we take for granted nowadays, that we're separating our transactional and our reporting databases and data structures. You've only got one place. So those things are limiting you in that scope. And finally, on this page, there's no webhooks. We haven't got the API. We haven't got the webhooks. We're very restricted in how we can trigger and interact with this data. Talking about data itself, the one gotcha that people will probably come across early is that 2 GB total per environment, per team. That goes along with the 1 million rows. So if you're getting up to these levels, you really need to start thinking about taking your Dataverse environment and upgrading it to a proper Power Platform environment because of those limitations. These are the sort of scales of application where you're starting to think they're going to be enterprise-wide and have the typical amount of data usage and requirements that a proper application does. Simple data types. So what that means is we don't have that customer data type. We don't have currencies, and there's probably one on that I've forgotten. But we are restricted to the normal data types. We're also restricted to simple relationships. It is a relationship database that, from my opinion, the reason why we have got Dataverse is to stop people storing data in SharePoint lists. And we have got one-to-many, many-to-one, and many-to-many relationships, but they're simple in the Dynamics terms. In Dynamics, you can set up predefined fields and fill in fields, so you can establish a company contact, an account contact link, and pre-populate the contact when you associate one with the account. And you can have cascading of security and relationships and access. All those things are just not there within Dataverse for Teams, and therefore, we've got to take those into account when we're building those applications. And in most times, that's not a limitation. I understand that, but you've just got to be aware they're there. And the final one on data is there's no advanced or relevant search. We're very used to searching across tables and understanding what we've got across those data tables, and we can search contacts and accounts and everything else that we've got easily and quickly within the Dynamics Power Platform realm. Those are the sort of things that you're now going to be limited to creating per table or creating bespoke code to search across tables. We're calling them tables again, which we haven't covered, but we'll get there probably. Deployment is the next one. We are Teams only. If you want an app that runs on a website or runs within any other infrastructure, you're going to be mistaken. So, but supported is a Teams only client. I know Matt's done some work around this as well. I'm sure he may discuss later. We haven't got any mobile offline, so Power Apps is great for that, to provide you that offline capabilities. None of that is there. Data loss prevention is pretty limited. We are restricted to flow, like we've already said, about getting data in or out, but we're restricted in what the capabilities are. We haven't got the transparency and all the bells and whistles that a normal common data service environment would have. And finally on this list is the ALM, the Application Lifecycle Management. You've only got one team. You can move apps between teams, but there's no solutioning, there's no versioning between a dev team, a QA team, and a production team. So you would have to build up your own ways of working there, rather than using the tools that have been in and around the Dynamics and Power Platform space for many years. We've got the automated stuff within DevOps, etc., to ease all that pain. And at that point, we're going to really struggle to bring that up into the enterprise where they really do need that dev, test, production life cycle. And the UI, yeah, it's great that it's all in Teams, but is it really the best place to have an app? It depends on your view on these things, but there's quite a few things that are, it's great that they're there, but is it really the best experience? We've got Canvas only. We haven't got model apps. And what I mean by that is we don't have the business process flows. You'd have to regenerate those. You don't have the easy way of getting data in that structured format that is great for larger deployments and enterprises. We're going to have to rely on someone creating those Canvas apps and making sure that they're pixel perfect, etc., and doing the sizing, etc., as you see fit. There's no video, and these are some of the mixed reality. Those are the couple of controls that have come recently into Canvas apps that you just haven't got within within the Dataverse for Teams. And again, this is a shifting thing. So by next week, we probably will have mixed reality. And more importantly for me, the most important one, there's no dark theme. There isn't any switch to say, oh, he's running in dark mode. Teams is great for in your application for switching you to that the developer's favorite, that dark theme. So that's the most important thing. And if you take anything away from this session, it's that. Now I've done the naughty list, Santa's going to come back and show us the nice parts.
Yeah, I am. If I can decide to, I just lost my slide deck from previous, so let me just give me a second. I will just be there to work. Do apps work on Teams on a mobile device? Yes. I'll show you that shortly. Only within Teams. Okay, so there's lots of moving parts for this, so let's see how I get on with this. I'll be swapping and changing here and there and everywhere, so wish me luck. Let me get to the right slide first. So thank you, Carl. Yes, I get the nice part. I get to do the bit where we can show some nice things, do some nice stuff. I just, as a break, put a screenshot in of what I think is the greatest Christmas film of all time. If you think otherwise, then you're wrong. But this is the greatest Christmas film of all time. So yes, now the first thing I'll invoke in my nice list now is that I'm going to move away from PowerPoint. We've all had enough PowerPoint for the day, I'm sure. There's probably some summary slides at the end. But the first thing I'm going to do here is move away from PowerPoint, and as well as going through my nice list, I'm just going to sort of show you. I'm going to use the system. You'll notice nice things as you're doing it, rather than work through a list, and then we can sort of summarize at the end and see where we're going. I will point out some of the pitfalls that Carl's has previously mentioned about, and then we will pick it up from there. So if I stop presenting that and share my entire screen, this is where I have multiple screens and have to juggle them all. Oh, no, that was nearly leave. Let's not do that. Screen one, is that one? Yeah, that'll do. Okay, let's move all the way. Carl's face any longer. I'm going to move Teams up there. Okay, so where do we start on this stuff? My Teams has been a bit crazy today, organising the day. So like I say, everything is done in Teams. Teams is your base. We can extend out of Teams in certain areas. But ultimately, what I'm trying to do here is use Dataverse for Teams. I will still say Project Oakdale, it's still in my head as Project Oakdale, but we will use Dataverse for Teams in some examples of things you could possibly use it for. The biggest question people still give to me right now is, what's the point of it? And I think that's half Microsoft's fault for the way they branded it, is that I think they're not sure themselves. My personal take on this and what Dataverse for Teams is it's a place to practice, it's a place to input internal projects, it's a place to do things that will help your teams. It's not a place to replace a huge business process that you're using. It's not a replacement for your Dynamics CRM. It's not a replacement for your ERP system, but it could be a nice place for your team to build a secret Santa in and start using there and learn Canvas apps and Power Automate and Power Virtual Agents. So to me, that's the middle ground of what I see. Now there is tools coming. If you were in the Microsoft session with Chris earlier, you might have heard me ask Chris this, which is one of the options they have announced they will do at some point is this promotion of Dataverse to Teams to become full Dataverse. It's coming. We don't know when it's coming. So we just have to assume that once that's there, what we can do is when we build something that is production ready on a bigger scale, we can then push that up and then we can get all the extra nice bits that we want. In the fullness of time is the official answer on that. So let's watch this space and see where we go. So let's get started. Now I want to just make a new Dataverse for Teams and see what's going on. So I'm going to make a team. So I'm going to make a brand new team in here, and I will call it E365. Nope. Let go Shift. UK team. I'm just going to put me in it for now. Nobody else. So just create this brand new team. So we wait for progress bars to take a longer time than normal. I don't know, add anybody else to it, and that's it. New team. You might have done this already, you might not. Now, I want to add a Dataverse for Teams instance behind this team. So the way I do this is I will go into Power Apps and do it this way. So I'll jump into Power Apps. And what I would like to do is I would like to build a Power App against that team. So I create an app. When I press create an app, what that's going to do is that's going to say, here's all your teams. Which one would you like to make the Power App against? Now, is it? There we go. That's the one I just made. Now, you'll see there, you're the first person to create an app in this team. We'll need to do some setting up. What that realistically is actually translating to is going to say, you don't have a database behind the scenes. All right, it's more than a database, but they seem to be going back to database type terminology. So let's use that as a phrase while we're doing it. Which is, this is behind the scenes now, is doing all that stuff. So, I mean, the amount of things this is doing behind the scenes now for me is incredible. This is spinning up all the databases. This is putting all the base work in to let you build Power Apps, to build Power Automate, to build Power Virtual Agents. That's some power there. It does take a minute or two. So this is where we're doing a live demo. So we might have some awkward filler while we're waiting for this to finish. If I need a plan B, there is a plan B, but we'll give it sort of 30 seconds more than this. What I'll do in the meantime is, there we go, don't need to do in the meantime. And that's it now. So that's now done it, and I'm now in this ability to build a Power App. Now this has, like I said, made the system. It's going to give me a basic app for me to start playing with. And it really is holding you into a hello world equivalent. Name your app. So the app that we're going to use here for today is called Reindeer Tracking. That's the sample we're going to use to go along the Christmas name. That's gone well. Let's try just reindeer. Fab. We're going to go through eventually. No, it's gone well.
Did you pay the demo guys? I didn't.
No, apparently not. What I will do then is I'm going to make a new app again in the meantime. I think my Teams is just playing up tonight. I can't even get rid of my window. It's gone well. Right, can't come out of this. Let's try and take two. Thankfully, I don't have to wait for the because I've already made the CDS, the Dataverse teams behind the scenes. I don't need to worry about that, so I can pick the same team. It will now hopefully make me a new app instead. Let's see what we're getting on. No pressure under a live environment. Okay, I feel like I might need to restart my Teams.
Oh dear.
Yes, I know, it's been a hard day, isn't it? Right, I am going to leave. Oh, I don't know what to do at this point. Let me try in a different, I'll tell you what I'll do, let me try in a different team. That's what I'll do. Let me try this one that I've been also using. So, Power Apps. Plan B is I'll do it on the website.
Yeah, I think it might be the website.
That's what we'll do. Right, let's put it into there that I've been playing with. just in case anybody here ever doubted this stuff was pre-recorded, this is your cement that it is not. Oh, you gotta go for
It went fine when we pre-recorded it.
It did. Okay. I'm not hitting error yet. It's a good sign. Did it just not? There we go.
There
Okay.
you go.
So I'm in a slightly different tenant, but the environment, but the point still stands. So this has now made me a sample canvas app. Now, before I actually want to move on, I want to go somewhere else, and this is a place that some people in the chat might not have seen, but some people might have, which is the Power Platform Admin Center. And if I do refresh, actually, what you'll see is that the environment that's made behind the scenes is a fully fledged sort of common data service type thing. You can see there, new environment has been created, and you can see there they're of type teams. So they are distinguished, they are in there. You've got sandbox, developer, production. Now you've got these Microsoft teams. What that means is if you've done the Center of Excellence at any point, which is Manuela's stuff, all the Dataverse team stuff can go in there, so you can govern all that sort of stuff. And that's a great benefit of something that I'm surprised it was in there, but I'm glad it was. And I'm going to now make a new table entity. So I'm going to do it in here. Now, everything, like Carl said, is done. Is plural of reindeers? Yes. Everything is done within the Teams client. So make.powerapps.com. When you go to make.powerapps.com and you've got your environment picker, you won't find your Dataverse for Teams instances in there. So everything you do is in here for now. So it's got a name, and I'm going to give it a new column as well. I'll red nose, and it will be a choice. No, it won't be a choice. It'll be a yes or no. And default of no. So I can make a column, and at the same time, I'll add some data in it as well as a row. So this is where I test my knowledge of reindeers. Having a 3-year-old, I'm pretty good at having known what they are at this point. Comet, Cupid, that'll do. And I can. That all this stuff is saving this pretty much behind the scenes. It's not saving. Why is it not saving? That's fine. We can discard the changes. It's still playing up a little bit by the looks of it. So I've now got a new data source here. This is now auto refreshed to the first data source I made. This is actually a new feature. This was broken a while ago. They fixed this now. So I've now already got a table with an app that I can manage that data with. So I can now preview that app. I can then add a new record. I can add in my Rudolph, spell it right, Rudolph, has a red nose, yes, and you can see there I've got there. So now I'm saving that data, and I'm doing the stuff that I want to be doing. So I've got it there, which is good, and that's a great start, and it's a nice little intro into learning these things. Now what I can do when I've done this is I can publish. So I can publish to Teams. So I wouldn't recommend publishing this straight away. I would save it and test it and do all these things, but I'm just going to publish straight away for the interest of time. And what I would like to do is this is going to ask you where you want to publish. So you can now obviously only publish it within the team that is made within. So I've only got a general tab on this one, and I'm going to add it in as a new tab, and I'm going to save and close that. So that's now going to put this app as a tab within that team. Which links back to the question which was earlier on about having it available in Teams. This would now be in there as well. So if I was to go to that team and I have a look in here, you can now see that in this team I've now got the reindeer app, and that's now just going to show my canvas app there. So it only exists here, and I can carry on. I can do another one. I can now make Dasher, who is no, and the data is now in there again. So that's great. Now, I want to get more advanced in this. So this is just putting data in. So I want to think wider scope of Power Platform. And this is where, for me, Dataverse Teams comes into its own. I've had no real opportunity or reason to play with Power Virtual Agent. That doesn't mean I don't want to. I like it. I think it's cool. But I'm not in a situation where I can really play with it in my sort of professional career. And I don't want to have to pay £2,000 for a license in my personal. So having this middle ground, it is nice, and is what I'm going to do there. And I also know where I'm going to go with this. I know I'm going to need Flow. Now, what I can do in this, if I just open up Flow a minute and I refresh it, what you'll notice here is that even though in make.powerapps.com up here, the Dataverse for Teams environments won't be there, they are in Power Automate. So you can now see that this benchmark one is the one I was using. That was the one I should have been using, but this is another Dataverse for Teams instance. And this is all the same. This is the same UI. So whilst we do say in our naughty list that it's Teams only, There is times when you can leave and do it in other places. It's just a bit. It's in some cases and not other cases. It's a bit strange. So this is one case where you can leave it. The reason I've left it here is that there is no interface within the Teams client to make a custom connector. So I need to jump out, do it through the web browser, and then I can jump back in and use it again later on. Now, we all know, as I'm sure we have known for years as grown-ups, is that reindeers navigate by latitude and longitude. But Santa Claus doesn't realise that actually they can be quite long numbers, and if you're a little bit off on a latitude and longitude, that can send those reindeers to a very different place. So that tenuous link is a link to a custom connector I'm going to use, which is a thing called What3Words, which I speak about all the time because I think it's great. Which, if you haven't heard of it, for the sake of this demo, it breaks the world down into 3-meter squares, so you can be very accurate to where you're going. And each square has 3 words that describes it. The idea being that it's easier for you to say 3 words and say I'm here, and they can pinpoint you rather than you reel off your latitude and longitude of location. So there is not a connector for that in the in Power Automate right now, so I'm going to make one. So I do have one pre-made. It is on GitHub if you were to ever use this, and I'm going to make a new one and I'm going to import it. So it's on my desktop. It's there. Give it a name. Carl knows what's coming now because I got this wrong on my last demo. Let's see if I get it right this time. The color is that one. Yeah, there we go. So I'm just giving it a color. So I'm going to use What3Words connector, and I'm going to create that connector. I've already pre-made this, so I'm not going to go through what's in this connector. Ultimately, it turns latitude and longitude to 3 words and vice versa. So I'm just going to make that connector because I'm going to use it shortly. So let me just check it saves before I move away, because as we've seen, saving things doesn't seem to be working very well. Okay, it's made it. So now I'm back into Teams. Everything I do is back in Teams now. And now I want to make a Power Virtual Agent. So I can go into here now, and in the same way I went to Power Apps, I can find Power Virtual Agent, which in my case is here. If it's not in this list, you can just hit More Apps, and you'll find it in there instead. So you can just do a search for Power Virtual Agent. There it is. And if you don't have that, it will install it onto your Teams. Then you just press Open. And this is the same idea as a Power App. And actually, you could start from Power Virtual Agent and build up if you wanted to. Because when I go to Chatbot and I make a new one, it will do that same check of, is there an environment behind the scenes? And if not, make one. We know it's already there now, so it doesn't matter too much. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new chatbot. And I will give it a name. When it loads, here we go. Now, like I say, it is one of the points of me doing this is that this is unpolished because I don't have notes on me of exactly where to click, because it is quite intuitive, and I'm trying to explain that this is intuitive. So it's why I'm jumping in and out of a few places, because that is exactly what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to show that this is actually quite simple to do. So I'm going to make a reindeer bot, and it's going to build it up. And I should have pressed create before I told you that, because that would have filled the time of us building this robot. So yes, what this would have done behind the scenes is made a common data service, a Dataverse for Pro, a Dataverse for Teams tenant environment in there. So we'll let that build. Don't quite know what it's saying. Your free trial's expired. Maybe that's something to do with why the system's been playing up a little bit today. It's not something I've seen in there before. So we'll let this build this bot. There we go. And yeah, so all the stuff I'm doing now, I have followed no PVA courses at all. This is entirely just from playing. So if there's experts in the room that know PVA more than I do, then feel free to correct me at any point. I'm more than happy to learn more. And the bot starts with a topic. So there's some sample topics in there, but I'm going to make a new topic. So this is the trigger phrase that someone will say to the bot. Santa directions, like that. And the trigger phrase is, where are we going? So the idea is that this is Santa talking to the reindeer. So I'll add that in as a trigger phrase, and I'll save it. And then I'll go to the canvas. So this is when someone says this phrase, what's the process within the virtual agent that we're going to do? Good question. Are we going have a conversation with myself like I'm going crazy after a long day at CMUG? And then I'm going to ask a question, which is, what's the 3 words? And that is a, in this case, this will be a user intact response. So I want the whole text, and I'm going to give it the name of words. And now what I want to do, so now I'm going to put that in. So this bot's going to chat with me, I'm going to put that in. I would like to call an action. That ultimately means I'm going to call Power Automate. So I can now create a flow. So I need to save that because it sometimes complains, because what Teams will do is bring me out of the Powerverse agent user interface into the flow one. So it chops in between them all. So save regularly. So I'm going to call an action and I'm going to create a flow. Now, this is the reason why I made the custom connector earlier, was because I can't do that in here. So that's why I had to come out and make my life easier at this point. So there'll be an input to this flow, which will be the words. Is into input, I'll do. There'll be an output, and there'll be a step in the middle, which will be, in this case, my custom connector. So my what 3 words connector. And I'm going to convert it to latitude and longitude. Example, where is my key? There. Create that. Go, and now my words came from the chat, and I get a response. So now I can have a number. I can give it the lat, which is the latitude. I can give it a response, which is the long, which is the longitude, and I can also give it a nearest place, which is nearest place. Save. Probably should give it a name. It's the thing I'm terrible for doing in Power Automate. Convert 3 words to that long. Save. And then now I want to go back, so it's going to ping me out of Power Automate and back into Power Virtual Agents again. There we go. But now when I go to call an action, the one I made should be in there because it knows it's a Power Virtual Agent linked one, and it wants an input. That input comes from words, so you can see how I'm passing the data I've got down the chain, and then I can output a message back to the screen again. So I can say we're going to nearest place, which is at there, comma there, and that's it. Save. Oh, licensing. And they fixed that now. There you go. So it's going to complain at me now. So that's now not going to work. I'll look into why I'm doing that again. I think this is probably because I'm in a old system that I've been playing with. Now what you would do here, so I'll have to just pretend what we'll do here, is that when you have a bot, what you can do is you can publish the bot and you can then install it. So when you install it, that becomes a channel within your chat, and you can have a chat to it. So within chat somewhere, there would be a Santa bot, and you can have a chat with that. It would then show you that conversation. So it would be a what you're talking about, who you're talking to. You would give it your 3 words. It would give you the response back to the screen. I'll have a play with why the custom connectors there aren't working, as we've seen quite now that the system is not playing ball with me today, which is unfortunate. But ultimately, yeah, that's where we would go with that. So what I've done here is I've managed to play with the database behind the scenes, making data, making columns, made a Canvas app that's used with it. I have used Power Virtual Agent, I've used Power Automate, and I've linked all these things together, and I've been speaking for 19 minutes or so, which to me shows a sort of incredible power. So if I just go back to my slide deck a minute, which is here, I'm not going to go full screen, I'm just going to open PowerPoint and do it the old school way. Just to go through this, check I've touched upon it, all the stuff that I was going to talk about. It is a single click, anybody can do it pretty much. Power BI is also in there, so yeah, I didn't show Power BI. There is a common data service experimental or beta connection that you can use. You just copy and paste the URL straight into there, and that works. This is Dataverse storage, so you got your relational stuff. So this is the benefit of it over sort of SharePoint. I think it's often the thing people compare it to is using SharePoint as a data source. So I've got a nice drop-down box that lets me make lookup fields and image fields and choices, and that's all enforced. It is included in most of your Microsoft 365 subscriptions. I'm not going to get into licensing now. We all know how well licensing chats go in meetings like this, and I'm going to stay well away from them as much as I possibly can. And yeah, when you press that publish, that's available for your whole team. So yeah, I think a good usage of this I've seen people do is that someone did it for a Secret Santa. Someone did it to track. They did a team building thing where they were rating movies and that sort of stuff. So it's a nice little practice method of it. And it is governed a little bit. So it's in the Center of Excellence. It's in the Admin Center. So as an admin on top, you can see which of your team members are playing with it, which of your team members have made a Dataverse for Teams within their team, how many apps they've made within there, how many Power Automate flows they've made within there. So you can start seeing these things within the Center of Excellence. So it's all nice. It's in there. My tip is use this as a practice platform. Don't use this as a production platform. Microsoft might have a different stance on that, but quite frankly, I don't think they know where to stand with it, if I'm brutally honest. And yeah, that's it. So there is some documentation there on the slides that we will be sharing out. There is known issues. You saw then it's playing up particularly bad for me today, whether that's just because I've been in Teams and done more things than usual, I'm unsure. And other than that, I guess we're a little bit early, but it's been a long day. So if you've got anyone got any questions, if there's anything else from Carl, I'd love to hear from it.
No, I'll just echo what you were saying. It is a great environment for the citizen developer to get going and get started. So you definitely, if you've got anyone that is in that remit, then you should let them go and let them play, because you're going to solve those problems that your normal dev teams would never get to do. Those small little problems that are never going to get up their priority list, and they'll solve them for you as a part of their role. So any questions?
I think hopefully it's helped you realise what it is. I think that's one of the things that Microsoft have been notoriously not great at, is actually what is it trying to solve, what is it trying to do, what can't it do. And I think that was what we were certainly trying to get across today, was that this is the things that it can and can't do. And after this, I need to go and restart my PC.
Yeah, there's a question for you, Matt. I think really the admin side of it. There is controls around putting locks on who can create these things. I haven't done it in Anger though. Don't know whether you have in any tenants. Like you can stop people creating teams, you can stop people creating Dataverse for Teams as well. And you can obviously, with the Center of Excellence, you can automate creation of those notifications, etc., so you can monitor and governance those. Yeah,
exactly. All the old things that people used to use for triggers, if someone's made a new environment, someone's just made a new flow, those things are all still in there. You'll see on the type that's how you distinguish it. It's a Microsoft, it's a Dataverse for Teams thing rather than a normal one. Like Carl says, you can turn it off. I don't know, I can't remember off the top of my head where it is. It will be in the docs as a reference. But yeah, you can stop people doing it if you wish. Yes. It's a product called Airtable, which fills a gap between Excel and D365. Create tables next to them. Is there anything in Dataverse for Teams that would allow you to do this? So this is create tables and links between them. What's the key feature? So no. So realistically, yeah, you have access to the web for that question about one of the key features is that you can publish stuff to the web. Is it just being in Teams? So you've got it on your phone, you've got it on teams.microsoft.com if you really want to do it for a website. You got it that way, but there is no way of there is no supported way of doing it. You can do it, but I would suspect that the way that you can do it is heavily unsupported, and Microsoft are going to come shouting if they realise that's what you're doing.
I think the crux of this application is it is there for your users rather than external hosting data, and they can be guest users, but they're still your users under your guidance and your governance. So publishing to the web seems to be a step beyond that. Okay, if there's no more questions, we'll let you get on with your day. There is a final session at 4:30, I believe, Matt. Is that right?
There is. We'll put a link to it in there now.